Happy Thursday. Today is Thursday, October 15th, 2020, and our daily Bible readings for today come to us from Psalm 99, Exodus 33, 7 through 11, 3 John 9 through 12, or you could have read Psalm 96, 1 through 9, and Judges 17, 1 through 6, and then again 3 John 9 through 12. And today I'm going to look at the passage from Judges 17. And, Judges is one of those interesting books. It's not... it's a story about heroes in the life of the people of Israel, but they're not. Even the heroes are not really kind of the best people. I heard somebody one time talk about the people in Judges as stories in Judges as good examples of what not to do, or maybe they said good examples of bad examples. And I think that's pretty true. The Judges sort of exists to show us how far askew the people of God can get when they just kind of are left to their own devices, or let's say fall prey to their own devices. And it's a familiar refrain in this book. So this story today is about these 200 pieces of silver and what happens to them. And it's just... it just kind of goes from bad to worse. So this guy named Micah, and it's not the same Micah that we read about in the prophets. It was just kind of a common name in the Bible. And anyway, so he steals 200 pieces of silver from his mom's purse, basically, right? You know, she leaves her purse sitting out. He sees her cigarette money or whatever in there, I guess, and he steals it. And then, apparently she, pronounces a curse, which is just bad anyway. Pronounces a curse, I guess, probably against whoever stole it. So he hears that and repents and gives the money back to her. So he returns it, and his mom is like, "Oh, I'm so proud of you, son." And I'm sorry to be chuckling about this, but as I think about this story, it's just so bad. So he gives it back to his mom, and then his mom hands it back to him. And says, dedicates it to the Lord, and in the New Jerusalem Bible, it specifically says Yahweh, but she says, "I dedicate this to the Lord." Okay, cool. You took the stolen money that was returned to you by your son who stole it. Now you're dedicating it to the Lord. And she says, "I want you to take this, and I want you to go have it take these 200 pieces of silver and have them turned into an idol." That's a bad idea, right? I'm pretty sure we've over and over seen so far in the daily Bible readings that God is not a big fan of idolatry, and he's not a big fan of making graven images, especially if you're trying to make a graven image of him. He's just not real up on it. So she gives it back to him, tells him to have it made into an idol, and like I said, even though she had just consecrated it to the Lord. So it just, like I said, goes from bad to worse. Micah does as he's told. He takes it, has it turned into an idol, but then he brings it back to his house and sets it up in a shrine with other household gods. The word is teraphim is what you'll see, and it basically means other little smaller idols. So they're making this idol that's supposed to represent Yahweh kind of share a little tiny house with other false gods. It's just bad to worse. He's not a real big fan of it, like I said. So surround it with other idols, and, so now Yahweh, the God, or God, is just another god, lowercase g, among many other gods. And then, to make it worse, this guy takes his son and dresses him up like a priest, copies the priestly garments, makes a linen ephod. If you go back and you read Exodus, right, it tells you all about what that's supposed to look like. Dresses his son up, who is not a part of Levi, dresses his son up like a priest, and puts him in charge of all these little false idols and this altar. And it's just, like I said, this idea of how messed up they were and how it just kind of goes from bad to worse is a familiar refrain. And specifically, we get the familiar refrain here at the end of it, where it says... in those days, there was no king in Israel. All the people did was what was right in their own eyes. Everything about this story is just wrong. I mean, it's... In those days, there was no king. So everybody just did what was right in their own eyes. The people had been given liberty. They had been given their freedom. God had pulled them out of the land of Egypt, where they weren't able to decide what they were going to do with their days. They weren't able to decide who they were going to be and what God they were going to worship, right? And God gave them their liberty, and they just corrupted that liberty because they stopped listening to God. They stopped doing what it was that God had asked them to do. They stopped being the people whom God had asked them to be. They corrupted their liberty because, no one could tell them what to do. And no one apparently was there to tell them what to do. Although they did have somebody that had told them what to do. They ignored the law that God had given them through Moses. This is the text that we read yesterday. They ignored the law of God, and I'm not really sure what difference at the end of the day that having a king in Israel would have made if they were already of a mindset to do whatever they thought was right in their own eyes. So, that's the DBR for today. Have a good afternoon, have a good evening, get out and enjoy the weather, and we'll see you tomorrow. Actually, Stuart Huggins will see you tomorrow. Boop.